Alright, so as we can see, the downloading of all these files is done, and we just have to click on finish button. So great, now we can see like it's showing welcome to Android Studio. So basically Android Studio installation is done now. Now we can go ahead, so we'll be going step by step, like and we will also see about all the Android Studio interface, like all what are all the different parts of the IDE and all. Okay, so first of all, what let's see like what this screen is showing here right now. Here we can see on the top a couple of things, like this menu is like showing Android Studio files help. So if I go and click on about, so here we will see the current Android Studio version which is installed in this system right now. Okay, and again, like there are a couple of things, like you can also check for updates. So because this is the latest we just installed, so there won't be any update, but if you are running any old Android Studio version, you can always go and check for updates. And if we click on settings, so in settings there are a lot of things. So before even we create any project, we can see like what are all the use cases of these settings here. Now first of all, we have to see the appearance of the Android Studio. So basically currently it's showing the dark theme, but we can also go ahead with light. As you can see, as soon as I switched it to light theme, everything became light. And there are different options, like you can have a high contrast one, which I won't be recommending. You can have a this one which is again dark, but I like the dark one, which is more pleasant for the eyes. So you can use this one. There are again a couple of other things, like if you want to have different fonts, you can always go ahead and change it. And by default, these are the these are the settings which are by default set in Android Studio settings, but you are always free to change it. You can have a different font family, you can have a different font size, all this thing you are free to change. And yeah, I think you can play around these settings. But yeah, this is about the theme selection. There are various other settings also, which we will be talking while we move ahead with the with our YouTube journey. So yeah, let's close this window for now and come to here. Now here we are seeing couple of things. This same settings will open from here, right? That can also be opened from this particular settings page. It will open also the same. There is a setting gear, and here also there are a couple of things, like check for and about settings. Now let's not spend a lot of time here. Instead, let's go ahead and create a new project, because I think everyone is waiting for that. So I will just click on this one. So there are a couple of things. There are three options. One is you can create a new project here. Another one is you can open an existing one, and the third option is you can clone and repository. It can be GitHub or any uh, any repository you can clone from here. And there are more options which we can talk later. But yeah, let's click on the new project. So as soon as I click on new project, now I am seeing a lot of options. If you are new to the Android Studio, you might be wondering what are all these options, like, and what to select, what not to select. But don't get confused. I will explain step by step. So for example, if you are building any application for phone or tablets devices, you have to go ahead with this option. If you want to build any application for watch OS, like whatever, and whatever smartwatches supports Android, you can build app for those kind of devices. If you are building an app for television, then you have to go with this option. And for automotive, like cars and different types of devices, you can go ahead with this one. So we are building it for initially for the phone. We will also talk about automotive down the line, but yeah, first we'll start with this phone. Now here we are still having a lot of options. Now what to choose is kind of confusing initially, so I will briefly talk about these options. Okay, first one is no activity. So I mean, if you select it, it will be completely empty project without any activity. Now what is activity? Activity is basically Android Studio will create a template or a sample, at least a single screen for us. So that's why these are other options. But if we go ahead with this one, it won't be creating any sample screen also. So better would be like we at least create with some basic views. Now this option, as you can see, this is icon for Jetpack Compose. So if we go ahead with this, it will create a Jetpack Compose sample project with a hello world thing. Okay, if we go ahead with this basic view activity, it will have a different couple of activities, like there will be a plus button and then some navigation also. If you go ahead with this particular option, it will also include some sort of a bottom navigation view and the controls. And if you go ahead with empty view activity, I would recommend if you are a beginner. This is again it will have a navigation drawer which will open from the left, and these are a couple of more things which is again like for the advanced or for the experienced person. So we can start with the empty view activity. Okay, then down the line we will also start exploring the compose one, but let's click on the empty view activity and click next. Now this is the important thing, because here you have to give the app name. Now because we are coming here for the first time, so we will call it like my first, you can give first Android app. Alright, now this is something called your package name. So it has to be something like package name has to be unique. Why? Because this particular package name decides whenever you will upload your Android app on Play Store, this has to be unique. So usually the package name convention is like you have to write com dot your company name and then basically your app name, something like that. So let's say I would simply like XYZ for now, and then I will write first app. So I mean this might not be unique, but yeah, I'm just writing it for the example. But yeah, and then here you have to decide where exactly you want to save your project. So what I'll do, I'll go ahead here and then on desktop, on desktop I will create one new folder. I will call it Android, and avoid giving spaces in folder structure. I would call it Android workspace, and I will open it and just paste this app name, which is important. So this will create a folder name with this particular uh, text, and next option is select language. Now I mean if you are new, I would recommend you go ahead with Kotlin, but I think Java is not even recommended now right now. But yeah, I mean someone who is already if someone wants to work on Java, they can also go ahead with the Java language, which is not recommended at this time. But yeah, this is also supported right now in Android Studio. Now we have to choose Kotlin only, and the next option is minimum SDK version. Here it is important to choose what would be your minimum version. The meaning of this minimum SDK version is like any application, any Android device with API level or the Android version below Nougat won't be supported on for this particular application. So if you publish your app with this particular settings, if someone having device with the lower Android version than Nougat, then that person won't be seeing your app on Play Store at all, because of the limitation. So that's the reason. Anyway, like there won't be any device below this particular API level, but this is recommended practice. And yeah, next we have to select the build configuration, which is recommended. One is Kotlin DSL. Earlier it was Groovy also, if you go ahead with the Java thing or Kotlin. So that's about our new project setting. Now we can click on finish, and then let's see. It is asking me some file access, because we are setting up the project for the first time. It will also it will ask me to access the folder which we just created. I will simply give allow, and alright, so now we are seeing something here which is kind of just Android Studio screen, and it has created couple of files. If I show you, there is a main activity and there is a activity underscore main. So now what are why it created, I mean if you are if you have already worked with Android, then you might know, but if you are a beginner or coming or seeing this thing for the first time, then I will tell you, like usually for every screen we see, I will show you quickly. So here we are seeing two files. One is like with this particular icon where it is showing this particular icon of a Kotlin. So this is .kt stands for Kotlin file. So what Android Studio does, when we created this project, it created a Kotlin file and with the respective uh, resource file, basically the layout file it created. Now my system is taking little time because it is importing some Gradle files, which you can always see if you are seeing any kind of loading. Always make sure to check if something is going on. You can click on here and see like it's kind of importing the Gradle project for the first time. Initially it might take some time, even it can take more than couple of minutes, so just be patient, but later on it won't take this long. So before while it is importing this all Gradle files for the project, let's discuss about the layout or the structure of Android Studio. Okay, so let me close these files and I'll briefly talk about what it is. So initially if you are a beginner, it might look so much complicated, like so many options, left side, on the top, on the right side, and here also. So don't get confused, those are very simple and I would say easy to use options which Android Studio has provided. Okay, now I will talk I will start from this option. So here you can see like it is showing your project name here. Now if you have multiple projects open, it might show those options in the drop down, or it will also show the recent projects, because this Android Studio has only opened the first project, so it is showing the project name here, and this is showing the version control. Now if we keep updating our Android project on any version control like GitHub and all, then you might see a branch name and more details on this particular thing. But currently we are seeing just the version control because this has not configured for any kind of a git. Okay, now if we go in the center, here we are seeing two options like basically this option is for I mean your device where the application will install. It is showing some medium phone API 36. What it is I will talk later on, but ultimately if you connect your phone by enabling the debugging mode, you might see your phone name here, and then this is talking about this particular app, and if you click on it, it will install the application. So if you select a emulator, which is this is the emulator, kind of a virtual device, I would say. It's not a physical device, it's a virtual device. We will also come to that point where we will see how to set up our custom virtual device with the different configurations. We will see in this video later on. And this is option for a debug app. So when you want to debug any application, how to debug any application, we will see that also. And there are more options like profiler and all. This is also very important, like how to see the performance of any application using profiler option. This is one of the important topic which is being asked in various interview questions. Next button is kind of a build, like it's called assemble app button. So if you don't want to install, but if you want to see whether the application is having any issue or not, you can simply click this assemble app button and it will check if there is any issue or not. There are more buttons. So if you are having any Google account, you can also log in with your Google account. Here there are settings. Inside settings there are SDK manager, project structure, settings and all. We can also talk about it later on. And yeah, right side you see there are a couple of options like because Android Studio is also comes with a Gemini integration. So this help us to I mean currently it is not sign in, but if you sign in, and then it will also suggest you code. If you are writing some code, it will also help you write faster the Android code. Yeah, there is a, a rendering devices option which will tells about what kind of virtual devices are turned on, but currently there is no device, so it is showing option to add. And there is a device manager which tells us, so this is the virtual device which actually Android Studio created for us, but we won't be using it. We will create our own virtual device. Okay, all right. Now we can see there are a couple of options in the left panel also. Now this is a build, this is a app quality. Now this is helpful when your application is actually connected with your Firebase. So let's say you are logged in and your app is also connected with Firebase or your app store, everything. If your app is having on any issue or the live application is having any issue, Android Studio will directly fetch all those information and display it here. So it helps us really well. I mean, it is very helpful, I would say. Especially like you don't have to go to Firebase and see what are all the crashlytics in your app and then see to that particular line. Instead, like it will directly list out all those issues here only. Okay. Now next is like Logcat, which is very important option in Android Studio. Where whatever we write, we have to always check in our Logcat. So let's not spend a lot of time on just looking at the Android Studio layout. Instead, let's talk about this particular screen. Now here on the top you will see like there is an option called Android, and we are seeing two more option, app and Gradle script. Now what is this Android? Basically this is kind of a Android Studio setup. Our project is in a different structure, I would say. So the default one is Android. You can also set up in a project structure, packages, or all these options. I would suggest either you go ahead with project or you go ahead with Android. I mean these are more, I mean this shows only important file structure. So if I expand this particular app, we are seeing here couple of folders like a manifest folder, and we will discuss what is this manifest folder. And then there is a Kotlin plus Java, and inside Kotlin plus Java we are seeing 3 folders. Okay, now you would see here one important thing, like initially when we set up the application, remember like we given a particular bundle ID or package name, so that is shown here for all these 3 folders. So basically what happens, like whenever we write any Kotlin file, it goes into this particular or a Kotlin activity, it goes into this particular folder, and these two below are basically for our test cases. So this is for our normal test cases, this is for our Android test cases. Okay, we will discuss more about test cases in later videos, but just ignore these 2 folders for now and just focus on this particular thing. So important things is like we have a Kotlin Java folder and we have a resource folder. Now this contains our core logic, like whatever our activity related core logic is written inside this main activity. Let's open it and see what is happening here. So in our main activity, as we can see, there is a function called onCreate, which is called as soon as we launch this for the first time. Basically whenever this activity main activity will open, it will trigger this onCreate for the first time. And what will happen here, we can see there is a the function called set content view. Now this set content view basically talking about what content to set for this particular main activity. So content means what will be the UI. Now UI, it is showing like you go and refer to the r.layout.activity main. Now let's click on it and then we will say okay, this is the file. Now what you notice here, like this all automatically generated by Android Studio for the first time, and this file is actually inside resource and layout, and here the file is here. So basically whatever layout files are created by Android Studio, or if we want to create a new layout file, we have to create inside this layout folder. Okay, so this is the basic structure of our Android app. Now we forget to talk about the Android manifest. Now this Android manifest file is basically a file which keep track of all the configuration, basically how many activities we are using in our app, or basically all those 4 component: activity, services, broadcast receiver, and content provider. All these 4 things are specified, has to be specified inside our Android manifest. Also if you are using any sort of permissions in our app, that also has to be specified in our Android manifest. These are the basic use case, but there are more options also. But yeah, you just keep in mind, like if there are any permission required for our app, that has to be listed down in our inside our Android manifest file. As well as if you are using multiple activities, all those activity has to be specified. If you create a new activity, if you don't specify in this file, the application will basically never open that activity for sure. And there are a couple of more things, like this also keep track of what is your app name, and where this where exactly your app name is kept. You can change it from there, and then also it keep track of what is the app icon, right, all this thing, and what is the theme basically. So we'll discuss about this also. Now if you notice, this particular main activity is having this intent filter thing. Now this intent filter tells the Android system, or yeah, the Android OS system, like whenever this app will be open, you have to start an activity which has these two components, basically action as a main and category as a launcher. So you cannot have two different activity with the same intent filter, because in one application the start point or launch point has to be only one activity. Okay, that please keep this in mind. So inside resource folder we have more directly like drawable. If you are having any sort of let's say resource file like icon or images or any svg file, that we have to keep inside drawable. In layout, as I told already, we have to keep all our layout files inside the activity, inside the layout folder. In mipmap also we can keep our app launchers, basically icon of the icon of our app. And this folder is important values because it contains all the strings that will be used inside our application, and all the colors. So all color codes we can specify, we can have our own color, we can define, and we can use it here. Alright, I think you can skip this XML folder for now, but yeah, these are a couple of important things. Now as I told initially, like there is this Android option and so this particular, when I choose Android drop down, it is showing only the important files. But if I go ahead and select folder, you might see like the structure got little changed now. Now if I open this particular, it is showing my app name, which is my first Android app, and inside this I am seeing couple of options like .gradle, which is kind of a auto generated folder, same this .idea. Now if you go ahead and expand this application, this is basically our source code of our application. So our basically whatever activity files are inside app, source, main and Java. So you see, even we are writing Kotlin code, but because initially it was a Java based system, so it is always Java as a parent and then your package name, and then inside there is our activity. Same goes, the resource folder is here, and it is listing down all the folders, and this is our manifest file. Now there is a important file which I am going to talk about, which is called build.gradle. Now what is this build.gradle? There are two build.gradle if you notice carefully. One is here, basically inside our application, and one is in our root directory, this one. So this is called project level build.gradle, and this is called app level build.gradle. So if you see here, there are a couple of plugins listed, and in our app level Gradle there are more I would say more options to be configured. Basically we are listing down couple of plugins here, and then inside Android we have to specify a couple of things like namespace, what would be our compile SDK version. I think you can read about compile SDK version and target SDK version. It is very important. Basically this is to which version we are targeting, which will impact when we release the application, but this is when we are compiling the application. And what would be our minimum SDK version, what is our this is our bundle identifier. It has to be unique whenever we release our application on Play Store. This has to be very unique, otherwise I mean two application on Play Store cannot have same application ID or bundle ID. Okay, every time we update any application on Play Store or Play Store, we have to always keep incrementing this version code and version name, because two application with the same version code and version name cannot be uploaded on Play Store. So always keep this in mind. If you have, let's say, already uploaded 1.0 and 1, then you have to always keep like incrementing this, so something like this. So second one would be your version code as 2 and version name as 1.0.1. okay, if you go down you can also see some more information about build release. Okay, yeah, if it's a release build, then it will use some sort of a different procard rules, which is important. This is important because when we use procard files, basically what it does, like it creates our app such a way like no one would be able to do some sort of a reverse engineering on our application. So this is very helpful. All right, it is specifying what compile options will the application will be using. So it is using Java version basically 11. And yeah, now this dependency option is basically what are all the dependency the application is using by default. We can have more dependency if we require. Let's say if you want to use any sort of let's say retrofit or hilt or any kind of third-party library, we have to specify their dependency here. Now you might see like earlier we used to have a different kind of structure, but now with the newer version they have changed the structure here a little bit more. For example, they are just showing the name now. How this is happening is basically they have created a different folder called Gradle, and inside Gradle, if you notice, there is a toml file. Now this toml file contains all the information of every dependency we are using here right now. So it is very easy. Initially it might be confusing for someone who is new to this particular structure of dependency, writing dependency. So I'll show you quickly. Now if I open this toml file, okay, you see here there are very straightforward thing. There are only three options. One is version, so all the versions are specified under this particular version tag. And there are libraries, all the libraries are specified here, and if there are any plugins we are using, then those are specified here. It's not like you are using this library, you cannot use it inside a plugin, it will give an compilation error. Okay, so now how it is using, if let's go back to our build.gradle and see the first one. Okay, now it is using lib.androidx.co.ktx. now if I simply highlight here, it is basically talking about this particular libraries. If it is lib, then it is inside library. Okay, let's go back there. Or now it is showing libs, so ultimately this particular thing has to be inside our libraries. And now this is like androidx.core.ktx. if I show you, basically you notice here androidx-core-ktx. so this was the name of that particular library which is written here. And when we are using inside build.gradle, we are always using like with a dot instead of hyphen. Okay, you see all the dependencies are written in that way only. All right, now so first thing is like name of that particular library is this one. Now we just write equal to, and with the curly braces we have to specify three things. One is a group, one is a name, and one is a version reference. Now if you see, like basically I will give a basic example. This actual library structure would be something like this, and your version. So this version, it is using 1.0.1. so sorry, it would be like this. Okay, I'll just explain here. So what is happening here, whenever you create a group, you have to use the these two initial thing. Okay, and then for your name it is using core.ktx, and then for your versioning it specified the version here, and we are using this version.reference. Okay, because we are taking reference from this versions list, so that's why we are calling. If you call it something else here, let's say a, you have to specify a here, and that's it. Like you can always change this thing. So I mean, ultimately it is just properly organizing your dependency. So this is a new way of doing it, and I would highly recommend everyone should follow this kind of structure. All right, so we will discuss about this like how, if we have a new dependency, if we have to add in our build.gradle, how we can do it, we will discuss in our future videos for sure. Alright, so this was about our build.gradle. Now let me close all these files by right click and close all tabs. Alright, so we discussed about all this thing. Now I know like you might be wondering like how to check if the app is there. How can we quickly build and see what it looks like? Okay, so I can quickly open the XML file and show you like how the app, whenever the app will install, how it will look like. Basically the app is doing nothing. Instead, like in our layout file, there is only one constraint layout, and the constraint layout contains a text view component which is showing just hello world. All right, so you can say, let's say size, I'll simply increase. All right, so now we can see a little bit the text got bigger, and if I install application it will open, and then it should ideally show me hello world. So let's try to install now. How to do that? So let's do one thing, because Android Studio, when we set up it for the first time, it already given us a emulator which is named as a medium phone API level 36. Now that we can also see from here. Okay, now if I simply click on this run app button, what it will do, you can see it started the emulator. It will basically turn on the emulator, and we can see the device also here in a moment. So as you can see, the device is almost booted. This is a virtual device, not a physical device, and ultimately it is very helpful, because when you are building, you have to keep testing the app on Android Studio only. You won't be installing app again and again on your physical device. So it's better, like it's a good practice, like you can use the emulator for quickly testing your application on Android Studio itself. So now as you can see, the app is installed and it is showing the hello world thing here, which is pretty cool, right? Because I mean, it just installed and showing it here. Now I know, like, this doesn't look like a phone, because we are not seeing any kind of a screen. It's just like a plain screen, and then just very basic, right? But I would say, like, it's a actual phone screen only we are seeing here, because if I click on back button, you will see, like, it's a phone screen. And if you click on home button, it is actually home button, and this is kind of a multitask button. And we can do it's like a phone only, like it creates a emulator with some basic app install, like you can see, like Android Studio is there, Play Store is there, Gmail, Chrome, Drive, all these icons are there. So yeah, now let's suppose you might be wondering, like, how can I set up my own virtual device? I don't want to use this one. So let's go ahead and delete this one. Okay, and don't worry, we will create our own. So what we have to do is, like, we can go ahead and create one from this button. So there is a plus button which saying, like, add a new device. Let's click on it and let's create a virtual device. So there is another option. If you want to use any Firebase services, you can also set up the virtual device on remote, but we want to do it on device only. So let's click on it, and then now there are a lot of options. Okay, so it's like different ultimately these are Google devices only, and it is showing, like, which one you want to use. So you can use anyone, like starting from maybe any Pixel device. I would say, let's say we can go ahead with the Pixel 8 Pro maybe. Again, here you can see other settings also, like when we are installing, I mean, we are selecting it, there are other options, like it's a play supported, what will be the API level, so 34 plus, width and height, basically the configurations, and their screen density, right? Screen pixel density is also shown there. So I would say, we can go ahead with the Pixel 8 or 9, anything is fine. I mean, you are free to choose. Also, if you notice on the left side, you can also choose if you want to, if you are working for any tablet device or any Wear OS, desktop, TV, automotive, you are open to install any kind of device, and you can proceed further. Okay, let's click next. Now here you can give your app name, so I would keep it as it is, but yeah, I think we just have to I mean, this is our app device name. Here it is showing, like, this particular this particular virtual device, we would be using API level 36. So basically this Android name shown as Baklava and Android 16. If you are if you want to try a different one, you can also use 34 or 35, but as you say, you are not seeing any other option. But I think because this particular virtual device supports above 34 only, right? So we want to go ahead with the API level 36 only, because that is already installed. If you want to go ahead with the new one, you might have to install it, which takes some time. So we will simply click on finish, and our device is ready here. Now before installing, I can also start the device by clicking this arrow button. Let's click on it. So as you can see, it is showing launching emulator. Right, so it again depends, like I mean, there is one more setting which I forgot to mention. And now it looks pretty good, like we are seeing a proper phone here, and the device is starting, and it's like a proper Android phone only, right? We can see all this thing, like seeing our notification, all this thing, going back to anything, like all this thing, like you can also go to settings and all, you can see like different things. It's like whole proper Android device running on your inside your Android studio, right? So that's very good. Now if I would say, if I quickly want to say something else, so let's say I would write hello Shyam, and the white is not looking that good in the background, so I will simply use some different color like this, and let's say give the text color as white, and just install it. Now you can see, now since we have a new virtual device, it is showing our name, and then as soon as the app is installing, it's looking so beautiful, right? So one last thing which I want to talk about the running virtual device is, like, you can always, if you are not happy with the current emulator configuration, you are always open for simply go ahead, edit, and play around these settings, right? So you can maybe change the API level, or this Google Play services, if you want to change, you are always, you can do it. There are some additional settings also, which I would not say, like, if you are a beginner, don't play around it, but I just want to talk about it a little bit, because here if you see, like the default RAM is also assigned whenever you create a new emulator, right? So it is assigning 2 GB of RAM of your system, and some heap size also is specified. So these are some default, but if you are want to play around it, you can check. But yeah, it's always you should always check all the settings. All right, so this is about the emulator. All right, our app is also running. This is the default. Okay, now one more thing we will quickly check here, like how to print logs in our application, right? So let's say as soon as our app is running, we want to print some log. So let me run this application, and then we will add a log here. So as I told initially, right, like whenever we start application, this main activity will trigger this onCreate function. Okay, now if you want to print something as a log, so I would do log.d. okay, and I just have to give a tag, and it's a value basically. So let's say I would say tag, and this is my log. Okay, now if I run this app again, okay, now where do I check whether the log got printed or not? So I told you initially, like these are all the settings, and you can quickly click on the Logcat button. Now here it's very difficult to see, like whether my log got printed or not. So what we have to do, first thing first, like you have, because you, as you can see, like there were one more emulator initially the Android Studio created for us, but we removed that, and it is showing offline also. We can delete it from here, and now this is the our even if you if you connect your actual physical device, you might see that as well here. So always keep in mind, like select your connected device. Currently we are on the emulator mode, so it is showing our emulator here, and then here, as you can see, this is showing our whatever we wrote here, right, the tag. So the tag is this side, okay, and the value is here. So this is a good way of debugging our application, like how to check. So let's say our application has lots of code, and then we want to see whether this particular code is getting executed, and what is the value it is it is getting. If there are various variables, like whether they are getting the value properly or not, we can do different types of logging. That is a different topic, so we will cover all those things in our future videos. But this is a basic use of tag. Now one more thing to notice, like let's say I don't want to use or see all these other tags, so I can simply have this thing particular, like I simply write here this package.mine shows like which particular package it will show logs from. So it is showing our app name. Mine means it's showing, talking about our own application. So you can have maybe your multiple apps might be running in your device, but we want to see tag basically Logcat from our particular application. And if we wrote here tag, so it will only show I mean only those Logcat which has this particular tag in it, right? This particular string. So this is about it. And yeah, you are always uh, play around these settings. Like you can, let's say if log is continuously running, you can always pause the log, play it again. If you want to clear it, you can click on this clean button. One more option which is very important, like let's say I have this particular app running either on my emulator or on my physical device. If your device is connected, you can always go ahead and take a screenshot. So as soon as you take a screenshot, you can see like whatever was there in my device, it took a screenshot of it. So it's like if you quickly want to take a screenshot or a snapshot of your app, you can do that by going ahead and clicking on this button, and you can save it anywhere you want. At the same time, you can also go ahead and record video, that is also possible. And you can always clean your Logcat. So this is very important, and one of the coolest thing in Android Studio, like you can quickly check your logs here. Now this option I already talked about, which tells about your Firebase and Android Studio connectivity. If your app is connected, you can see all your crashes and vitals from your play console. And these are this particular menu tells about what is happening whenever you are trying to build any application, right? So if there are any error, it will show here, like if there are any compile error or anything. There is something called terminal also. So if you want to run anything like any command, any Gradle command, you can run it from here, this particular terminal. And if your app is connected to Bitbucket or GitHub for say any version control, then you can simply go ahead and then you can see all your recent commits. You can go back to any previous commit. All those things can be done here. So yeah, I think this is also covered. And one last thing is like regarding emulator, you can play around all these settings. Like if you want to again take a screenshot, that is also possible from here. And then this shutting down, basically simply locking the phone, unlocking, you can play around the sound, right? So these are all the settings of our emulator. Let's close this one now. So I think we have covered most of the things in our Android Studio setup wizard. Now in my next video, I will also talk like more about how to navigate between two activities, okay? And then how to set up Gemini, how to set up or how to push our code on GitHub with just one click. It's very easy, and anyone can do it. So in next video we will be talking about that. All right, so yeah, I think I will stop this video for now, and thank you for watching. And if you really like this video, please hit that subscribe button and like this video and share with your friends. And that will help me to that will motivate me for further making such content. Yeah, thank you so much.